Welcome back to Next Gen Console Watch, our show following everything happening with the latest gaming hardware. I'm Damon Hatfield. This week I'm joined by Ryan McCaffrey, host of IGN's Xbox podcast, Podcast Unlocked.
Howdy, Damon.
And we are joined by a very special guest, Seth Macy from the great state of Maine and host of the Nintendo Voice Chat podcast. Welcome back, Seth.
Thank you. It's been a while. I'm happy to be back.
And Seth tells us there's a big storm of brewing heading towards his house right now, so hopefully he doesn't lose power or anything. And hopefully, Seth, you are able to stay dry this evening. And this week we had a big Nintendo Direct, which was a big hit this week. Lots of exciting stuff there, which means that all of the big three platforms have held their summer showcases. They've laid their cards on the table, and now we know what their next 6 to 12 months look like. So let's sort of compare. Let's see who has the brightest future in the next 6 to 12 months, PlayStation, Xbox, or Nintendo. So, starting with PlayStation, they're going to have Black Myth Wukong and Concord in August. Sort of a big action-adventure game and a multiplayer FPS. September will be Astrobot, which I'm very excited for. In October, they have Silent Hill 2. December sometime, they're going to have the LEGO Horizon Adventures. The Until Dawn remaster is supposed to arrive sometime in the second half of this year. And then in 2025, we know they'll have Death Stranding 2 as an exclusive. For Xbox, Ryan, fill in anything that I'm missing here, but you've got Age of Mythology Retold and Stalker 2, both in September. October, you get Call of Duty Black Ops 6 into Game Pass, also coming to other platforms, but any Game Pass subscribers will just get it on day one, which is very cool. In November, Flight Sim 2024. Several other games that we're expecting sometime in the back half of this year: Avowed, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, 33 Immortals, and the Starfield Shattered Space DLC. Then in 2025, we expect Fable, South of Midnight, Replaced, which both Ryan and I have been looking forward to for a very long time. Doom: The Dark Ages will launch into Game Pass again on Xbox, which is very cool. And there are several other sort of smaller indie games that are all launching into Game Pass to expect next year. Then Seth, Nintendo, we're just about to get Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. July, we're going to get the NES World Championships, which is a very cool looking little package. September is the new Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, where we play as Zelda, finally. Yeah. Yep. October is Mario Party Jamboree. November is Mario and Luigi Brothership. January is Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. And then in 2025, we expect Metroid Prime 4, Pokemon Legends, I don't know if it's Z to A, Pokemon Legends ZA, I don't know how it's pronounced, Professor Layton, and the Switch 2, right?
Presumably,
we
yes.
should be getting all new hardware for the Switch in 2025. So, with that said, Ryan, after the Nintendo Direct this week, you still feel like Xbox has the best looking next year ahead?
I do honestly think so. I mean, the list you ran through is pretty stacked. I mean, you could even start it with Flintlock Siege of Dawn, which is launching straight into Game Pass next month. So that's July. You mentioned all the other heavy hitters as well, plus some, and even some of the smaller stuff that you left out were some cool Game Pass games, like a Mixtape looked really cool to me. That looked like it was designed for me specifically. Atomfall looked pretty interesting from Rebellion as well. And that Claire Obscure Expedition 33 turned a lot of heads at the showcase as well, launching into Game Pass. So, yeah, I mean, new hardware is always ultra exciting, and I will be as close to the front of the line as I can possibly get for the Super Nintendo Switch, especially if it's going to launch with a new 3D Mario game, which I don't know if I'll quite go so far as to say I'm expecting it, because I don't know if you can really reliably expect things from Nintendo at any time. They'll just surprise you for good or bad on different occasions. But, whether maybe Metroid Prime 4 is going to be the big day one launch title, but my hope and desire is that it's a 3D Mario, as I've said on this show before, because it's time. It's been, this fall will mark 7 years, so it'll be 7.5 years since Super Mario Odyssey. And so, if Switch 2 launches in, around March when we expect, and if it does bring a new 3D Mario, I think that would at least even out the scales for me, and I would say that everybody's eating good. At least if you're a Nintendo and Xbox player, you'll be sitting really pretty for the next 12 to 18 months.
Seth, talk to us about Metroid Prime 4 for a second. It's been 7 years since that was announced.
Oh, yeah.
Finally got to see it. And I saw some people, were saying, they were a little bit disappointed in the visuals. I'm not. I think it looks great. It looks like Metroid Prime to me. What do you think?
I mean, people are like, "Oh, it looks like the remake." Like, you mean the one that just came out like last year and was presumably built on the exact same engine? Like, it looks amazing. What are you talking about? It's 3.5 minutes. I'm very excited. There is a React video of me like absolutely losing my mind. 7 years since we saw the logo, and in that 7 years, not only did we finally get to see the game, but they even went so far as to change the logo. That's just the Nintendo way, and I'm very much looking forward to this one.
What do you think about the talk of, could this be a cross-generation game? Maybe also a launch title for the Switch
100%. I've been saying that. Well, the pessimist in me was saying that this was going to be a Switch successor launch game, and it was never going to come to the Switch. But now I feel in my heart of hearts that this is going to be a Switch successor launch title. It's going to be cross-gen. Regardless, I am there day one. I am so excited for Metroid Prime Beyond.
I mean, the fact that Nintendo had pitched this direct as a second half of 2024 focused thing, and then they announced, well, not announced, they showed one of the biggest games they have, and it's a 2025 game. I would be completely dumbfounded if this wasn't also coming out on the Super Nintendo Switch. There will be a superior version on the new hardware. Whether it's day one or not remains to be seen. But I'm with you, Seth. I think that's pretty much as close to a lock as you can get from, like I was just saying a few minutes ago, from Nintendo. You can never really reliably expect anything. But I think in this case, if it's got to be coming to both Switches.
And I'll eat my hat if it's not. I won't actually eat my hat.
So Seth, what do you think about the Nintendo lineup overall? New Zelda, new Mario Party, bringing back Donkey Kong
this
Country.
is absolutely incredible. What we think is probably the last year of the Switch, but that Direct, it just kept on delivering. I knew we were in for a treat when they started with a new Mario and Luigi game. Now, I don't have any sort of experience with that franchise in particular, but I know that a lot of people love that series, and so starting off with that, I was like, okay, this is going to be pretty big. And they had some good games there in the middle. Strangely, the Lego Horizon Forbidden West is coming to Nintendo Switch as well, which I thought was kind of cool. It looks pretty fun. But then the middle of the Direct, they just out of nowhere a new top-down 2D isometric Zelda where you play as Zelda.
Yeah.
And that was probably the surprise of... I mean, look, I freaked out for Metroid Prime 4, but we knew that one at least existed. We knew it had a logo, but this new Zelda, absolutely out of left field. And the more I saw of it, the more I loved it and I wanted it. And then when they said it's coming out in September, it was wonderful. This is one of the strongest, maybe final years of any console that I can think of. Like, these are just phenomenal games that we're going to get to play this year. Yeah. So I can't wait.
Yeah, it seems like Nintendo's the only one that can keep a game like that a secret without it having leaked ahead of time.
Yeah, well, they've done a pretty good job cracking down on leakers, and that's how you know who the fake ones are. Those are the ones who are still around with their quote-unquote leaks, and all the real ones have been removed from the public sphere.
What do we think about PlayStation's lineup? It's not bad, but it's lacking, any of their big tentpole franchises. They've been sort of relying on third-party exclusives, console exclusives, recently, which has been working well for them. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Stellar Blade, I think Black Myth Wukong and Silent Hill 2 could continue that success for them. They've got Concord, which they're sort of betting big on as a live service game. Helldivers 2 was a big success, but after the state of play, I'm not sensing a lot of excitement about Concord. Maybe that's just me. Then Astrobot, as a dad who plays games with his kids, and my kids already love Astro's Playroom, super excited for Astrobot. But I don't know. That's sort of like family-friendly platformer isn't really what the PlayStation platform is known for. So it remains to be seen whether or not people will turn up to play Astrobot in droves. Lego Horizon is also kind of a strange choice for a Lego game. I mean, like, as good as the Horizon games are, that's got to be the least popular IP to give the Lego treatment ever, right? Like, it's not a Star Wars or a Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings, And then in 2025, Death Stranding 2, I'm sure it'll be good, but it's a little bit more niche. It's like that Death Stranding is a 5 million copy selling game, not a 10, 15, 20 million copy selling game. So, I don't know, Ryan, how do you think it's sort of? I know you're gonna prefer the Xbox lineup to Sony, but what do you just sort of like make of the lineup?
I've got them all back here, so
Yeah.
I'm hungry for good games on all of them. But I think you hit the nail on the head during that little monologue there, Damon, and that's the pivot to a more family-friendly, all-ages approach for PlayStation is an interesting one. It's almost like damned if they do, damned if they don't. Where if they don't, well, then they're kind of their market sort of shrinks because you're going to keep the guys like us who have been playing PlayStation for a long time and these really gritty, mature, narrative-focused games. And there are kids coming in and becoming new gamers all the time, and while the PlayStation won't really be for them, at least from a sort of major first-party perspective. But if we're not getting fed any more of these games that PlayStation has built its reputation, I mean, I think it's fair to say that, you had Crash back in the day, and yes, Astro bought an Astro's Playroom a little more recently, but the big spike in PlayStation dominance that really started at the tail end of the PS3 era and has continued all the way through PS4 into where we are now is all on the back of these really mature narrative-focused games. And so those are mostly nowhere in sight for the time being.
Yeah.
And, and now, you've got PlayStation they're pivoting a little bit more, not just to the more family-friendly stuff, but to the live service things as well, like you mentioned Concord. Whereas Microsoft, they've been doing multiplayer stuff for a long time with Halo and with Gears, and Forza is I don't know if you'd quite call it a live service game, but it's definitely got a heavy online social component. And now, all the Xbox games you read off, Damon, a lot of those, it's Microsoft now trying to pivot back to go the other way. They're almost like it's like they're each changing lanes on the freeway into the lane that the other one was just in. I mean, Indiana Jones single-player game, replaced single-player game, Avowed single-player game, Flight Sim single-player game, Starfield DLC single-player, Stalker 2 single-player game, Age of Mythology. I'm not actually sure if that is a multiplayer component, but Doom single-player game, Fable single-player, South of Midnight also single-player, and that's pretty much all the big ones. So it's really interesting to me the change in strategies of these companies. And I guess I'm drifting away from your ultimate question here, Damon, but for us, the kind of core gamers, the people watching this that have really been super on board with PlayStation for the last 10, 15 years, not that there's anything wrong with Astrobot. By all accounts, everybody that's played it is in love with it. But it's kind of like, well, wait, where are the games that I've really been loving from Sony for the last number of years? So it's we'll see how things shake out. Wolverine can't come soon enough, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that's at least announced. I think they need to announce something that the core PlayStation audience can look forward to. I know it's annoying when companies announce games too early. Perfect Dark was announced in 2020. We only just now, 4 years later, got to see it. What is that Wonder Woman game that was announced back then? Is that even a thing?
Oh my God, I forgot all about that one.
But I do think Sony should announce, like, Ghost of Tsushima 2, or what is Santa Monica, the God of War studio, going to be working on? What is Naughty Dog going to be working on? Just give the core audience something that they can look forward to, even if it's a year or two away. And Seth, this Lego Horizon Adventures game is coming to Switch.
I know, which was
that's crazy.
A complete. I did not expect that at all, but it's great to see. I think that Sony does have a lot of big heavyweights, and like you said, Ryan, that's not really their biggest, but it's cool. It's they've already got Lego sets for Horizon, so it just makes sense. And regardless of what IP is picked for a Lego game, they're all delightful.
Sure.
I mean, the Lego Star Wars 3, which was based on the Clone Wars TV show, I don't even think any outlets reviewed that game, but go back and play it. It's super fun and it's very creative, so it's hard to mess up a Lego game. And I'm just excited to see kind of more of a younger skew to the Sony platform. I think it's really smart on Sony's part to do this as well. Like Astrobot, yeah, it's not their gritty narrative game, but hook the kids young, let them have this sort of memories of playing these fun PlayStation games, and then they've got consumers for the rest of their lives. Just like I remember playing, the NES, and now I host a Nintendo podcast. So
It's a circle of life, really.
yes, it is.
Well, certainly, things don't look bad for PlayStation, but I just think right now, as of, June 20th, 2024, the next 12 months look a little bit more exciting for Xbox and Nintendo than they do for PlayStation. And I'm agnostic. I play my PS5 the most. Jump back into Elden Ring on my PS5 right now. We want to know about you, our dear audience. Who has the most exciting next 12 months, PlayStation, Xbox, or Nintendo? Make sure to vote at IGN.com the day this episode goes live. We'll share the results with you next episode. And that's going to do it for this edition of Next Gen Console Watch. Thank you to both Ryan and Seth. Thank you for taking the time to stay dry again tonight. Thank you to everyone working behind the scenes here in our LA office to make this episode possible. There are a few gremlins that had to be shooed out of the studio here.
They were fed after midnight. That was the problem.
They were definitely fed after midnight. My name is Damon. We'll be back next week with more of the latest, how should I put it? I would like the next gen gaming news, more on the latest gaming hardware. We'll go with that. We'll see you then.